Shall we get cracking? Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the High Court Centre this morning for our first out of 6 events to run through a process called participatory selection within our 6 localities to recruit our VCSE sector lead. So I'm going to just do a little bit of a recap on why are we here, who are the Alliance, what is integrated neighbourhood health, run through the process, just so that everybody in the room is aware. We also have an online room and we are live streaming via YouTube chat channels. That was in response to the sector asking us to be as inclusive as we possibly could be. So this isn't a participatory selection process in its purest form. We've adapted it and flexed it so that we can gain the interest of as many people as we possibly can. Okay, next slide, please, Jess. So for those of you who don't know me, I think everybody does, I'm Kerry, Development Director at the VCS Alliance. In the room, we also have Jess, who's managing our live stream. We've got Carmen, who's dealing with kind of admin and supporting us through the day. Dawn is our relationship manager, who will be overseeing our Keighley patch. And we are from the Alliance. We are the health and social care infrastructure organisation for the VCSE sector. And we act as a bridge between the health and social care system and the voluntary community and social enterprise sector. We do that working in partnership. Our purpose is to transform health and social care and to tackle health inequalities and improve population health. We do this in 3 ways. One is that we act as a risk bearer, both for the system and for the sector. We bring investment into the sector, be that from the system or outside, to deliver programmes either geographically or thematically, and we harness our collective voice as a sector and bring that into the system to influence and bring that voice back out into the sector and act as that conduit between. Next slide, please, Jess. So just a very short recap on why we're here and what integrated neighbourhood health is. As you all know, we've recently had sight of Wes's 10-year plan. We've also had our Bradford District and Craven health and wellbeing strategy. We've had Lord Darcy's review, and all of those have had a real focus on how do we bring services away from hospitals largely and bring services into communities and deliver them where people are. So this is something that we know how to do really well in our sector. But I think what's important to know is that strategically, both nationally, regionally and locally, there's this real commitment to making this the norm and not the exception. And how we'll do that across Bradford District and Craven is via our 6 localities. I don't think I need to go into hospital to community treatment to prevention, analogue to digital, but I think what it does is just highlight and recognise what we will be doing as a sector and what this role in particular will be doing to really help us shift and amplify the voice as we start to move into community-focused delivery. Next slide, please, Jess. So as the VCSE sector lead in your locality, first things first, I think it's important to mention, is that this is a programme of work whereby it is a person or a partnership of people who will be advocating and representing the sector as themselves, not as their organisation. So that's really important to start off with. However, the remuneration to support that does need to go to an organisation. The intention is that we are backfilling the expertise, skills and knowledge that you bring from your organisation into it. So that's just an important point to note to kick off with. So you will be the go-to voice for the sector within your locality. So we're here in Keighley, and it will be to really represent the diversity of voice of the sector right across your patch. You'll work with community partnership anchor networks. They already exist. So we'll be looking at how you can really forge those relationships and develop beyond community partnerships to really galvanise the voice, both to bring that into the system conversations and to disseminate it back out to the wider sector. It will be to be a representative using shared data of your locality to really align the sector's voice into the discussions and the decision-making processes that will take place at locality layer. You will be absolutely instrumental locally at shaping the strategic commissioning conversation within your place. We understand that strategic commissioning, there'll be a devolution from West Yorkshire, that will come to our exec locally at place, and then we will start to look at how that is then devolved into each locality so that we can address universal proportionalism. So making sure that people who have the greatest need are getting exactly what they need at the right time. And using your population health data to really start to invest strategically and locally. Supporting the dissemination of feedback and gaining insights and using that to really, again, push and influence that strategic direction. And to support the creation and development of some mapping exercises. We know we have well over 4,000 VCSE organisations that are registered across our place. And we know that there are many, many more. So who do we have in the locality that form our rich and diverse sector that are operating and delivering services, and tons more? Next slide, please, Jess. So just a bit of a recap on the governance structure. I wish I had one of those sticks or something. I'm not going to make this. This is slightly different to what you will have seen had you have come to our roadshows. It has been amended, and what you'll notice here is that we have the VCS Alliance are feeding into that partnership and oversight exec. So that's kind of formal now, and Sam Keighley sits on the Partnership Oversight Exec Forum and will be part of this collaboration programme board. I sit in my role within the Integrated Neighbourhood Health and Care Delivery Group and the Integrated Acute Care Delivery Group. So this is that hospital to community space, and this is the Integrated Neighbourhood Health space, all of which feed into our localities and then our community partnerships. So we're layering the way that the sector can support the strategic commissioning agenda as we move forward. Next slide, please, Jess. Okay, so it's easier from this side. Let me go back for a minute. So what happens now? So we had this morning 6 candidates for Keighley, and it's fantastic because it was the most subscribed over in this patch, which I think really speaks to the long-standing relationships and the maturity of this place, and how you have historically organised yourselves as a sector. Unfortunately, one of those people has had to pull out. And one person also has had exceptional circumstances and cannot attend in person, and I will be delivering her presentation and trying to do that justice, and I'll tell you how we might manage that as we come to her presentation. So you will present yourselves as locality leads. We've got 5 minutes for those presentations. I will put a timer on. I'll give you a 1-minute wave. And then at 5 minutes, we shall cut that short. And then we've got 10 minutes for questions and answers to give an opportunity for you to bring your presentation to life a bit more in the room. It is absolutely essential as part of this process because, let's face it, it is a recruitment style process that we have feedback for every single person that is brave enough and has put themselves forward to represent your locality. So what we will be asking for is 2 specific questions for you to start to consider as people are presenting, and these will be formal parts of the voting process. You have to submit feedback in order to submit your vote, because whether you are successful or not in this role, it is really important that we are able to offer people some feedback. So the first question that we're asking you to consider is, what has impressed you about the candidate, and why? Like, let's really have a think about that and bring it to life. And then what areas of development might you suggest that that they might have in order to take this role forward into the future? Now, these are available online. So we'll on the online room and the live stream, you will have a QR code sent out to you. In the online room, you will have a QR code sent to you and a link to the survey. And just use that to take down your notes. Like I say, when we get to voting at the end, so it will be open at the end, you will have all of the candidates' name online, and you will have the question about whether that is the person that you are submitting your vote to, some extra kind of yes or no questions, and then you will be asked to fill out some feedback for everybody that presents with us. The reason for having a live stream as well is that we recognise that not everybody could be at Highfield this morning at 9 o'clock or in Glusburn this afternoon. And so we wanted to give the sector an opportunity to really engage in a period of time that was helpful for them. So voting will, as soon as we finish today, will be live for 1 week from today. And we will have the same process for all of our other localities. As well as that, we also recognise that many of our sector partners are not just considering their geographic location. They are also thematic providers and provide services right across the district. So as an organisation, you will have the opportunity to submit a vote for each locality. Okay, and the other thing is that each organisation has 1 vote. So you may be multiple people voting from your organisations, and if that happens, we will come to you, your organisation, and we will ask for who your vote is collectively. 1 organisation, 1 vote. End of story. And you can vote across all SPICs. Does that feel okay? Any questions at this point? So we do have some paper versions of for in person, if that'd be helpful to get those. Okay. Okay, all the timekeeping. 1 locality per voting on the open for we videos for presentations will be available online. Yeah, so I've done all of that. Excellent. There's something? Yeah. Okay, so the first person that we're inviting up to present is Caroline Britton. Caroline has worked in the VCSE for 24 years, spending most of those years with substance use charities based locally. Working at Project 6 for the last 15 of those, she's had a variety of roles, from delivery to leadership, and currently the Deputy Chief Exec. She's had the privilege to learn from others and to share her experience and navigate the organisation in meeting its core purpose. Her passion lies in ensuring equity of choice and opportunity to people experiencing multiple disadvantage, particularly in Britton, and developing services with partners, recognising expertise that each partner brings, and developing trusted and lasting relationships, ensuring that people who access services receive excellent, person-centred, holistic service offers. Welcome, Caroline. I'm going to stand. I'm going to go for it.
This morning, people that know me, I'm Caroline. I've worked at Project 6 for the past 16 years. So when I was thinking about this, there's a question about in the kind of word that said, why am I the right person for this? And it really did make me think about who I am and what I want to do. But what I actually decided to do was ask the people who I work with and who I work for. So I sent out your question and the actual job description to my staff team. It did two things for me. I'm not very good at talking about myself. It makes me a little bit uncomfortable. But actually, it's very much to know what people are thinking, because if it had come back with not great comments, I probably wouldn't be here, if I'm truthfully honest. So I did it. I asked the questions. I asked them to put together it's a word cloud around kind of asking people the words, what people thought I might be good at. But also some people actually gave me some comments as well, which I think truthfully honestly did humble quite a lot, to be honest. I'm really glad that the people came up with the biggest thing, because that's the one thing that I actually really care about the most. It drives all my decision making. At Project 6, all the work we do is co-produced, and we always are really looking for the voices which are not heard. We do a lot of work with people in our needle exchanges who don't often get their voices heard, and to pull that through into delivery is really where I'm focused. I'm not going to read these out because, as I said, it kind of makes me really good, but it's a really good experience. It's, I put myself out there to really understand what it, and some of the words that came back were what I really hoped, which actually did humble me quite a bit, to be honest with you. In the past couple of years, my role as the director of operations, I mean, I'm somebody who lives and breathes data. I can bore people to death. If you ask people in my organisation, they'll go, oh, she's really with spreadsheets. I do love spreadsheets, but I actually do much more than that. In the last couple of years, I've really shifted and changed my role. I do a lot more around strategic thinking. I've put myself forward to do a master's, so I can really kind of develop that kind of role. Strategy used to be a bit of that elusive thing, which I couldn't quite get my tangibility on. It's really tangible and really real. And so I've really worked over the past week, and it actually came back in people's words. So I was really pleased about that, because obviously that does mean some of the things that we can going forward. So just a little bit about my experience. I've got enough time. So, I mean, I currently sit in the local forums and do a lot of work within health anyway. We do a lot of work within MASS, and MASS is, if people are aware of that, is a partnership. And I was thinking about MASS as kind of a smaller extension of this, that I've spent the last 6 years. I kind of call myself a guardian of MASS, because it's a partnership where everybody's needs need to be met. And it's kind of gets pushed from various parts of the health sector, particularly because they always wanted to do what they wanted to do. So it's been a real navigation of trying to ensure that we're meeting our needs, we're delivering the best that we can, we are being flexible, and that actually we're protecting the overall goal. And that's really kind of what I see this role. It's around that collective voice and that collaboration, and really advocating for people. And I think one of the best questions is if I was fortunate to get to go, it's about, I won't be representing Project 6, I will be representing the sector. I already do it because our people are always our people. It doesn't matter whether they go to whatever other charity and any other agency, they're ours. And so I will defend them all and challenge, but so Keighley gets its fair representation. There you go.
Them online or in the room.
Questions? I don't remember bring a question. How about I answer them? All right, Mel. Well done. Go for it.
I just wanted to ask really, how do you think this role of the locality integrates in community? So really, how do you think that's going to work?
I think the role is all about how it's going to work with people and how you develop the relationships and the communication, as you are representing. So you have to understand what the needs are, what people's common grounds are, what the differences are, because though we are a sector, we are all totally different. And it's about balancing the difference with the common and to be able to work that forward. I mean, there's different ways. It's looking at how you're going to communicate, how you're going to feedback, how you're going to learn with people, how you put that information across. And for me, it's about being honest and clear around what you can do in this role. That answer that for you. Anyone else, please? I'm talking about don't put your answer.
So my question, Caroline, is you talked about your love of data.
Yes.
So I'm wondering about, let's have a think about specific data of Keighley district. What are those specific inequities that we might be considering for your place, your particular geography, locality, and how might you be able to address some of those with partners?
So in terms of the data, I am obviously much more familiar with my own data in terms of what we do, but it does kind of extend out. I mean, for me, it is about ensuring that everybody talks to me about the equity of access, because we can't start to work with people if people can't access us. So that is my primary focus in terms of those things. And when you're looking at different data, it's understanding who is not getting into the services that they need. Then it's about looking at how you address those. So and it's not always about putting the service in the community, because that's not always the best way. And it's about understanding what are the particular barriers. And they're very unique and very specific to the people who have experiences. And that's, for me as a person, it's not for me to solve the solutions for people. I don't know, because it's not my experience. I know my experience, I know my barriers as a female and a woman into various things, but I don't know the people's, if I'm honest. So for me, it's understanding that data, being really clear around where it lies and very specific, because community is different to practice. So it's understanding a little bit more about that. And it is about community access and having that seamless door experience. That would be my idea. I've done a good job there. But I enjoy looking at data, I enjoy putting it together. I'm hugely about impact, not taking information that I don't need, but to use the information that we do have. So, thank you. Thank you. Any more questions in the room? And that's another.
I guess the first 30 days.
Oh, what I'm doing for first 30 days. Firstly, because I don't know everybody and everything. And as I said, I have partnerships where I work where I have really good relationships. For me, it would be about getting out and understanding who our community services are. And as I said, I find the volunteer sector hugely interesting because it is so very different. We're all together in one, but my organisation is different to other organisations. They may look the same, but they have different setups, they have different outfits, goals, and all those things. And it's about what that difference is. There is the common ones that we have. But our rich ecosystem is so wonderful because of its diversity and because we're so innovative. And it's not losing that. We can't lose that because that's what solves the community problems that the NHS can't. So to cut that short, it's about going and finding out all that stuff and meeting all those people and having some, because we're going to have some really difficult conversations, I think. I am incredibly honest, can be a little direct sometimes, but I take that as a positive thing. If I am to get direct, people do tell me I do take it well. But that's what I think we need to do. We need to find our way through and pull together. And the only way we can do that is we've been sort of competition for however long. This is going to shift that, and we need to shift with it. And it's scary and exciting all at the same time. Thank you. Do we have any online questions? No. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Caroline, very much. Thank you.
So now we we haven't just got one presentation, we've got a joint presentation, which is fabulous. So let me read two bios.
If I go to that, I can't seem to be properly on their line screen because I'm looking at us in Caroline's elbow. For some of it.
Oh, all right. It was a beautiful elbow.
I'm only thinking it because my husband's online, so just next to the helmet, so you couldn't hear. I don't mind reading them. I thought I'd read it back so you can
Perfect.
check it if you want.
If I've got a couple of minutes, I might switch to my personal phone, so that's a minute.
Right, well, let's take that couple of minutes now then.
But to reassure for the YouTube viewers and slash live stream, we are also recording it on a laptop, so we will be uploading the laptop version later. Hopefully see the whole presentation, so I know you can't see the screen. I just haven't snap. I will be doing it.
That's really helpful, Anna. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's all a bit techie for me. It's not my bag. Yeah. It's yours, but Piers, I'm going to ask you online because I can see your face. What is the experience like in the online room? Can you hear? Are things visible or not?
Yeah, we can see everything. We can hear everything very clearly. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Piers. We don't click.
I don't know
Okay, so I'll just mute for a minute and then I'll put it back on.
Wherever we're at. Okay, good. Thanks, okay, right. I'm gonna have feedback with myself, like, apologies. Right. So. So next up, we have our dynamic duo. Together, we've got Fazeela Hanif and Melanie Hay, who are proposing a joint partnership as locality lead. So Fazeela was born and bred in Keighley and is really passionate about making a difference to people in the community of Keighley specifically. And at age 11, she started helping out at youth clubs, became a volunteering ambassador, and is currently working as the manager, chief exec for Highfields for the last 17 years. Highfields is situated in the diverse community of Keighley and comes with a range of challenges and experience in bettering the emotional, social, physical, mental and health and well-being. Health issues continue to increase and services are sporadic with barriers. They pride themselves at working in partnership and continue to work hard with stakeholders, bringing vital services in-house and closer to home, helping to reduce health inequalities and create healthy environments to live and communities to be active, safe and people to lead healthy lives. Melanie Hay has over 30 years of experience across the voluntary sector, local authority and the health sector itself. Melanie understands how collaborative, place-based approaches can positively influence communities. As Chief Exec of KHL or Keighley Healthy Living, she has led innovative health projects like Rethinking Pain, Mental Health Connect and Blood Pressure Connect. And these demonstrate how partnerships between clinical and community services can improve health outcomes. Alongside the management of numerous partnership projects, she is currently supporting a new community and family hub in Airedale Shopping Centre that brings together VCSE partners, Modality and the Children's Trust all under one roof. So I'd like to welcome Fazeela and Mel up to present together. When you're presenting together, I'll extend your 5 minutes. So I will give you a hand at 9 minutes.
And that we're doing males first. You do read KHL one at the top. Yeah. It's about it. Well, I'm it's going to be complicated technology, isn't it? I think I can go straight to that one because yeah, Ken's already doing that sort of stuff for that one. Yeah, can you see here? Yeah. Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name's Melanie Hay. I work for Keighley Healthy Living. You've now all got an idea of my age. I'm done with that bio. Let's do that. So 21 and a few more years, yeah. So obviously just expressing my interest of becoming locality lead and doing this in partnership with Fazeela. So if you want to move to the next slide, that would be great. So I've just gone through the questions that were asked in the presentation. So why am I the right person to be the VCSE lead in this locality? And Fazeela is obviously going to talk about her position as well. I think it's really difficult to do this, and when I reflect, it's really hard to talk about the I, isn't it? Because we're so used to collaborating, we're so used to talking about organisations. When you come to talk about I, like, oh, it's quite interesting to think about that. So I'll have a go anyway. So if we go to the next slide. Yeah. So as said, I've got a lot of experience. I've actually worked within public health in the local authority. I've worked in a hospital, in a hospital, and I've also worked for a primary care trust. So a real range of experience working in different sectors, which I've really loved. And then lately, I'm nearly 14 years, I've been in the voluntary sector, which I can't believe, which I absolutely love. So it's been great though to work across all different sectors. I'm really passionate about partnerships and working collaboratively across the locality. And I really genuinely believe the more we work together, the more we can do. So really passionate about that. I've got a wide range of experience of health related projects, some mentioned on the bio. So worked within Blood Pressure Connect, Mental Health Connect, Rethinking Pain. I actually did quite a big project for the Department of Health many years ago on a health related project. So a real mix of experience running different health related projects. One of the things that I think is really good is that I'm already attending a lot of meetings that are looking at integration. I went to an integrated neighbourhood meeting last week. I'm an active member of Keighley VCSE Community Partnership and part of the leadership team, and obviously going to a lot of strategic and meetings already. We're also, both Fazeela and I are a member of Locality, so they have a health and wellbeing group, which I'm going into in November, and it's all about the NHS plan and how the VCS plays a role within that. Also, I think I am, my values and vision is committed to strengthening the VCS. And we know, don't we, the more we work collectively, we all want to improve what's out there for our community. So that shared vision, I think, is really where we're all coming from, and that will bring us together. Personally, I'm passionate about sort of continuous learning, knowledge sharing and growth. So just within KHL, we just got the GSK Impact Award, really proud to do that. I'm really keen on evaluation, really happy to do more evaluation and measure impact. I really would like, and I'll talk about that, looking at the collective impact of the VCS. So I'm just going to hand you to Fazeela to talk a little bit about yourself, and I'll
kind of word of the but then going back historically, I was actually one of the first employees at Healthy Living, what you call God's Healthy Living Network back in 2000, 2001. So very much aware of, like, you know, the partnership work and stuff. And I think partnership has always been key, in particular for me. And I know with Mel, we worked together for many, many years. I think just in terms of partnership, in terms of Keighley and the community, and, you know, having that voice, having been able to sort of, when you're speaking to different local people, organisations, and they know who you are, they know the partners you're working with, and then they kind of can bring together different services. So we're not there to say we can do everything, but what we can turn around and say is that we can do so much more because we collaborate, and this is what we're doing. Obviously, voluntary sector is one of them, modalities, you know, WACA is another, which we know about health and wellbeing, and that's increased over the years. And it's how to bring those sort of people together, or even those that have been hard to reach or not engaging. And I think that's probably one of the biggest hurdles that we always try and overcome. In addition, language, you know, and overcoming different barriers, obviously being able to speak various different languages and having team and staff, and Highfield is quite close to me, because I think when I sort of came here, it was this beautiful building and that was it. And, you know, to say that I've been here 17 years. And grown, Excel grown, and, you know, working with so many people. I mean, we're community anchors, both ourselves and Mel, and then I sit on various boards at the moment. I think one of the biggest, which again is trying to make change and bring investment into Keighley. So I'm on what's called the Plan for Neighbourhood, which used to be the Keighley Town Board, and seeing how we can spend, you know, that money widely and efficiently within local areas, but again talking to local people, because it is public funds that is it's there. So yeah, that's me.
The next slide, please. So I wanted to just add, so obviously this is a joint with Highfield, but I know it's about individuals, so I don't know if this is okay, but we have got Candice here today who's doing a lot of work within the Wharfdale area. So if we wanted to capture the Wharfdale area, can you go to the community partnership, so we could extend that reach to the Wharfdale? We've been doing a lot of work with Mental Health Cadet, so just wanted to bring that up if Wharfdale's in that area. Next slide, please. What would I do? What would we do? That's what, yeah, what would we do? So I'm going to start and then Fazeela can add in. So would you like to go to the next slide, please? So I think we've talked about this morning. The key thing is to listen and understand the perspectives of local BCS organisations. But I'll be really honest with this, it's really hard. I think Kerry said there's over 4,000. There's a lot, isn't there? How do you do that really meaningfully and representatively? It's hard, let's be honest about that. So really looking at how the best way we can do that. I think the other thing to really is identify the barriers to collaboration between the BCS and the health sector and explore practical solutions to overcome them, because we talk about integration, we talk about collaboration, we talk about system change, but that comes with issues, and how do we understand how we make that better? We're all doing the same thing, really. I think the other question is, how do the BCS fit with integrated neighbourhood and maintain its true identity, and working in partnership with a lot of health sectors? How do we do that? How do we show our real value, really? Support initiatives around data sharing, and develop a shared data dashboard for the sector. Caroline, you're much more into data than me. I don't know that I am, but I'll find somebody you know. But I think what would be really good is if we could really celebrate and share the collective work and have a data dashboard for the BCS would be amazing, wouldn't it? And I think we're really keen to support that. Obviously, there we go. Be a strong advocate for the role of the BCS and recognise the unique value it brings to our communities. I think that's really important. And be committed to identifying and promoting opportunities that can be shared across the BCS to strengthen collective impact. So it's going as we said, as a neutral, and then looking what are the opportunities and how do we share them across the area. So I don't know if you want to add anything. Yeah. This might be complicated.
We'll just add more. Yeah, so this is just a little bit of a snapshot, just looking at, and again, I think something that Mel spoke about was the impact. So impact that we have, impact organisations have in the work that we do. So what we did recently, we did an evaluation report, which is still going to be completing, because we celebrate our 21st birthday next year, so we wanted to have that. But I think it was more having it from an outskirts of why are we here, what do we do, what difference are we making. So this is some of the stuff that came out from communities. I mean, obviously there's a snapshot, I'm not going to go through everything there, but even things like what has impacts in economy, empty buildings. Now looking at things like North Street and so forth and all of them, how does that impact people's health and well-being? So that's just a snapshot of some of this stuff that's going on. And then just as continue. On to the next slide. Thank you. And then just adding on from a lot of the stuff that Naz already spoken about is being that voice and influence and being able to advocate for on behalf of local people. So when we're looking at partnership, one of the things that we always look at is the creative well-being, having the holistic approach, sitting around tables, having these, it's not going to work for everybody, you know, pictures, portraits, conversations, different languages. It's how do we get the message across? And I think that's something that we do. One of the things that we do really well is partners. And in the summer, we've had some fantastic ones. We've obviously had Britton. I think we had over 2,000, 3,000 people attend, which is absolutely brilliant. But it's coming from different forms, walks of life, and telling us, you know, what they like to do and what we can do to help. Again, NHS England fan with, you know, hospital community, working with people. And then I've got the little bit of Go to Voice. This is more about, as an organisation, what we created is, you know, having that space locally, being open, being able to reach people through phone, through that door, emails, and then being a central point, and again, to help shape strategic commission, meeting the needs of local people involved in research to put Keighley on the map.
Brilliant. And just one more final slide. Are we okay for time? We've got about 43 seconds. No,
I don't.
Yeah, so how do we meet the role description, which we just talked about, something really quick. So we talked about working in collaboration. I think there's lots of having a voice, amplifying the voice through existing networks. There's lots of things a bit neat. So utilising whatever's out there is obviously going to be a priority. And then looking what are the gaps, these are health champions, what can we do to utilise the voice that's already there. We talked about actually Fazeela and Highfield and Keighley within the community anchor and Silver Anchor, so we're already working together actively with some of this role already. and then supporting shared data initiatives to improve transparency, insight and collaboration across the sector, and also bringing data back to the voluntary organisations to understand what their priorities are and how we can all work together. And then I think there's just one more. And then really passionate, I'm really interested in contributing to system change. How do we work with commissioners to better understand local needs and promote inclusive, appropriate commissioning? What do we do? How do we do that together? And we've done quite a number of projects like that now, so it's a really good understanding and learning from that, partnering with the VCF Alliance and other stakeholder locality leads to really celebrate the sector's success, share this data and identify any development needs for the community, so the VCF sector, what training is needed, what support's needed to really get us to the point we want to be. And of course, I have to finish off with we need to keep the community voice central to all that we do. That's what we bring, isn't it? So while strengthening the capacity, building skills in our local community to really enhance all the work that we do. So that's it. Thank you. I don't know.
Yeah, not saying all, it's kind of like working with the community instead of saying that with for the community. That's where I want to find. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Questions for the dynamic duo? Emma?
So I think it's amazing that you're thinking about doing it as a joining sort of thinking out of the box. But can you see that there might be any challenges working as two of you doing the lead role? And what would you do?
Yeah, really good question. So Fazeela and I have had a chat about this, haven't we? We talked about it. So we are going to have sort of meetings and we're going to allocate different roles. And so I think we thought about that. I think we're going to have to be quite, we talked about what's the word, structured, that's the word, in our approach to how we manage that. So I agree with it being challenges. I think it's a really interesting test and learn, as we always say, isn't it? It's an interesting approach, see how it does work and what we can learn from that. But I think it must increase the voice, the wider voice of the sector, really, by having two people there. But I think we do need to think about how we do that effectively, don't we?
Yeah, and I think it already, because we're already working in partnership with like gender roles and roles, that's given us that flavour. So we already know some of the challenges and it's more about our capacity, you know, as voluntary organisations. And I think that's one of the things we don't realise. I know Mel sort of touched upon commissioning and commissioners. You know, we've always been about funding and fundraising, and it's how do we go that step up, because that's a lot of work. And we don't have those teams sat there to be able to say, let's put this commissioning in. But I think having that dual role gives us that opportunity to really reach out to, not just in terms of commissioners, but, you know, things that are coming through or the gaps that are there, because then it's like offloading and seeing what we can't do or we don't have the capacity, but then Health Living might have. So I think that would probably be a benefit as opposed to, you know, a more positive, really. So yeah, thank you. That's a good question. Thanks.
Any more questions in the room? My question is, are you still anticipating retaining your community anchor position if you were successful as the locality lead?
Yes, yes.
We've already had that.
Yeah.
Any questions online, Dawn?
No.
So I'm going to ask another question about obviously Keighley and district. So what are some of the gaps or barriers that you think you might face? You've mentioned about just the volume of sector organisations, but beyond that and things that you'll be advocating for, what might some of those things be? And so that people have got a really good sense of what you will specifically be championing in terms of health inequalities for Keighley and district.
In terms of reaching out.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we probably both as well, we're quite fortunate of is being able to sit on certain boards. I mean, I know we're both part of the partnership. You know, our last meeting was at Silverton Medical Centre. So we're already kind of reaching out and we're aware of some of the issues and gaps that are Keighley wide. And I think it's more about from our end, probably not to sort of big up ourselves more, but, you know, the partnership has always been key. You know, it's not something we can do without partners. A lot of the things we can sit there and we can say, we think there's this issue, we think there's that, but it's that collaboration that we're getting from others that is being able to say to us, this is where the gaps are and this is the work that needs doing. And then it's making those contacts. You know, we're not, even though it's two organisations, there's still a lot more out there that we are missing out. And it's how do we bring those together And it's really having that knowledge, you know, when you mentioned sort of 4,000, whatever voluntary sectors, who are they? How many do we actually working within the Keighley district? And who is it we're not working with? So it's building those links as well, which I think it's really important. And not just that, really interesting to see, you know, who are those that we don't know? Have they been around these places before?
And then you're looking, Kerry, at the specific barriers of the voluntary organisation or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering how, thinking about some of those specifics that other members of our sector organisations might think of, well, how might they represent X or Y?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Specifically around the inequities that people across Keighley district are facing.
I think I want to know where and who they are. And I mean, again, you know,
Yeah.
you've kind of VCS has got that. So that's kind of like a big part that we don't have to reinvent that wheel. So it's things that are already there. And if that's one of the things that is there, it's are they part of these meetings? Are they part of these collaborations and reaching out to them initially? And then see where we go from
and
there.
make sure we've got that reach. And as I said earlier, it's really hard to give a real true voice of everybody, isn't it? And you're going to get different opinions and different feedback as well. So how do we get that as effective as we can? I think there's going to be some work on that actually as well.
And I think one of the most important ones that I believe in it's grassroots. We're about grassroots. We're about real people, real talk. And that's where we get what we want. You know, this isn't just sat there on an office or looking at all this stuff going on across the UK and saying, this is what we want to do. This is what real people are coming through and saying, this is the change. This is the needs that we have. And that's what we really advance ourselves on. And, you know, we're proud of ourselves. That's what we've achieved.
And I don't know if you've come across actually the solidarity fund on the National Lottery. There's really quite a lot of evidence reading behind that on strengthening the communities. And the more we strengthen the communities, the more we strengthen the voluntary sector, the more we strengthen the voice, that's your long-term sustainable change. And I think there's some real learning from some of that actually. I was reading quite a bit around it, and I think that's what we've got to do, isn't it? As well as the voluntary sector voice, it's a strength of the community, all that capacity building, all that is how you get sustainable, stronger communities, which improves the improvement in health and well-being. So something don't know if anyone's come across it, but it's really quite interesting. There's some really interesting reading around that. So there's some interesting research behind it that we can bring in. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Okay, so next up we have Emma Smith, and Emma co-founded and runs Missing Peace Wellbeing and Support in Keighley. Missing Peace was set up because there was a gap when accessing support due to waiting lists for mental health services. One of the founders set up Keighley's first peer support group in 2013. And Missing Peace went on to be formed in 2017 and has been that voice for people struggling with their mental health and offer peer support services, activity groups, wellness recovery, action plan courses and training, intentional peer support training, wellbeing activities, consultancy work and much, much more. Emma is from Keighley community herself and has also struggled with her own mental health throughout her life. As part of Missing Peace, she uses that lived experience voice to support others. So let's welcome Emma up.
Yeah, thank you for that introduction, Kerry. So yeah, my name's Emma Smith. I run Missing Peace Wellbeing and Support, but I also co-founded it. So we have built it up from the ground, you know, trying to learn everything around running a VCS organisation. And you're right, we do peer support, wellness recovery action plan, you might hear me call it RAP, and intentional peer support, you might hear it call it IPS as we're going through. So why am I the right person for this lead role? As you've mentioned, I am a Keighley resident. I have been here 35 years. I wasn't quite born here, but my family is from here. So I've been here since I was 8. I live here, I work here, I am here every day. I'm really, really passionate about Keighley. It is my hometown. I am passionate about the people.
And I think we are a great town. We get a bit of a bad rep sometimes, but actually we've got some amazing people and we've got some amazing organisations who are really working to better it for everybody. And that's what I really love about our town. I work with people from all walks of life. So yes, I am working in mental health, but they can come to us with absolutely anything because we know mental health and physical health are often linked as well. And I do have lived experience of my own mental health, but I have lived experience of accessing services as well. And then going from being a person who's accessed services to actually setting up my own service. And we were born out of that health inequalities. So the whole reason that myself and my husband set up Missing Peace was because we were struggling with our mental health. There was this massive long waiting list for 18 months and we were like, well, what do we do in that time? There's got to be more out there. There's got to be a missing piece of the puzzle. And that's where the name comes from. So I know we're talking about me in this lead role. It's not about the organisation, but Missing Piece is myself and Nick. We have built it up throughout. So what would I do in the role? So I would be the voice of the sector and an advocate, not just of the organisations, but of the community, of the real people. So people supporting people. And I would use some of my values that I do with intentional peer support. So there's 4 things that we do. So I'd connect. So connecting with people, understanding kind of where they're coming from, validating their experiences. Then I'd move into what we call worldview. So understanding how people feel, why they feel like they feel, and where actually are the gaps, because just because I see something as a gap doesn't mean that it is, and somebody else might have a different opinion. Mutual responsibility. So we're going to work together. It's not just about me doing this, it's about us working together, collaborative. And how do we actually move forward? How do we walk side by side, moving this forward and moving towards? So we need to know what we don't want and where we're coming from. But if we focus on it all the time, we get bogged down in that detail of what we don't want. Actually focusing on that positive, where are we moving towards? What would we like to happen? And then we can look at, well, actually, how do we make that happen? And then finally, how do I meet the role description? So I'm used to working with others. There's people in the room. I work with people on the Mental Health Transformation Project. I also work with the Manning and Wellbeing Hubs, and I work with the Safe Spaces. So we do the community drop-in. And when I say it is really me that manages those relationships. As I've said, I've built Missing Peace up from the ground upwards. You know, I have been often the person that's been in the background, doing the admin, doing the legalities. I have a background in risk as well. So when I said VCS Alliance is a risk bearer, I was a risk manager. So I am usually the one going, have you thought about this? But I think it is also a benefit. Of course, I've built Missing Peace up alongside Nick. I'm used to getting that connection. I'm used to creating things. I'm used to developing things. And I'm used to going out and speaking to people as well. So I might just be CEO, but I do one-to-ones. I do run groups. So I am used to working with people all the time. And that leads me into how I can do the promoting the person-centred approach, because I am working with the people that we support. I'm kind of used to doing that. I'm used to talking to them and looking at actually what is their worldview? Why do they think the way that they think? We've set up more groups because of what's needed, and we train other organisations. So we skill share. So we've trained people from Project 6, from Keighley Healthy Living in things such as RAP, because we want to get those skills out there. What really piqued my interest when I looked at the role description was a hospital to community and the treatment to prevention. And that for me is what we are trying to do at Missing Peace. We want to do that support within the community. Our whole thing is about you can become the expert on you, and we can support you to do that. So you know what you want, what you don't want, what you need, what you don't need. So we can go from that, having that hope, taking personal responsibility for ourselves, educating ourselves on what we want, what we don't want, what we need, self-advocacy, being asking for what we want and do it appropriately, and then going out and accessing that support. So for me, it's all about bringing that care into the community where absolutely possible. And that's it. Thank you.
Questions for Emma?
Yeah, sort of being made with another voluntary organisation, how do you made with other voluntary organisations? We sort of did that collective.
Yeah, so I think it is about going to them,
and having a chat with them, because I don't know what I don't know. I don't cover absolutely every sector that's out there. You know, you've got some valuable skills and information and different sort of clientele to what I have. So I think it's about looking at how do we do that, because it might not be possible to do one-to-one face-to-face with everybody, because that might not be realistic. So running some of those kind of collaboration sessions, getting people to come together, trying to make it as accessible as possible, you know, such as we're doing live streams, we're doing Teams, you know, letting people send stuff in via email as well, just so that we've got all those different voices, and then trying to kind of pick out the bits from there. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. She finished my question. That's going to be my question. Around how, if you're representing Keith in all the organisations and diversity, how will you represent the different voices, so the different perspectives and different opinions, and sort of bring that together?
Yeah, I think it's spending time with those people, whether it's an organisation or somebody from the community, to understand where they're actually coming from. Because like I said, I won't necessarily know what their point of view is. I might not have the same culture. I might not be experiencing the same things. So it's really kind of digging down into that. Well, what does that mean for you? Talk to me about it, actively listening and asking questions where I don't understand. If I'm not sure on something, it's like, can you tell me a little bit more about that? How's that impacted you on that way? Why do you see it like that? Where do you think that we could go, and what are the gaps for you as well? More questions? Waiting for one from you.
So your role as CEO of Missing Piece is fundamentally rooted in mental health and kind of like the wider well-being. How might you develop your skill and knowledge and experience around maybe some of those more physical health aspects, and how that then impacts some of the work that you do across the district?
Again, I think it's very similar around gaining information from other organisations and other people. Although I've not had any major physical health things myself that I've had to go through, and she won't mind me sharing this, my mum has got spina bifida, so I have lived in a household where there has been physical ailments through all his life, through, you know, different operations and different things that my mum's had to go through to be able to make things accessible, whether that's care or even down to work. You know, she's a lecturer at Park Lane College, and they told her she'd be in a wheelchair at 40 and have no children. She's absolutely smashed everything. So kind of having those experiences and chatting to people, although it might not be direct to me, it's kind of understanding what is that like for you.
Right. And my next question then is about your background in risk.
Yes.
So if we apply risk to the current position, be that nationally, locally, or in this locality, what do you think are the biggest risks and how you manage those?
I think for me, one of the biggest risks I see for the voluntary sector is, and it's come up within other people's presentations, is about the people that we can't reach. It's okay kind of knowing what we know from what's out there, but what else is out there? And there is some people that are just really, really hard to reach, and it's looking at those different things. I think that's our biggest risk. I think we're really missing a trick there, and it's nobody's fault. It's just how society is at the moment, but it's how do we actually get into those things? And I think it's trying to think outside the box really with it.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so the next presentation is from Naz, and due to exceptional circumstances, she is unable to be with us in person today. So the wonderful Aisha at CAWAC has sent me across some notes to try and do the formidable force that is Naz some degree of justice. So bear with me. I am going to be doing a bit of reading, and I will do the best that I can. Just before I start, Naz has agreed that if there are questions that we can send those to her, and we will try to get some answers if we're able to over the next week, and we'll send those out to people only who are in the room and online, the responses to them. So, okay. So, next slide, please. A little bit to start off about COAC. So, Keighley Association for Women and Children's Centre. So, COAC are a needs-driven organisation based in Keighley Central and work mainly with women and children from South Asian backgrounds. For over 30 years, they have offered tailored support from one-to-one advice right through to group activities, all of which are aimed at improving mental and physical health and well-being, education and employment prospects. Currently, they are delivering an elderly women's project which supports social connection and mental well-being through ESOL classes, confidence building sessions and safe space groups. They also have KCAN, Keighley Cancer Awareness Network, where they've partnered with 12 organisations to raise cancer awareness. And in the first year alone, they've supported over 500 families and participated in 6+ screening events. Next slide, please. So why is Naz the right person to represent Keighley District Locality? So Naz started off in Germany and came to Keighley and has over 20 years experience of working in the voluntary and community sector. She started as a development worker and is now the CEO of COAC. She has always been a passionate advocate for South Asian women, particularly addressing cultural issues at grassroots levels. Naz served as the only woman of colour on the Airedale Hospital Board, completed a public health fellowship and took part in a Bradford University research project on cousin marriage, which was helping to open up difficult but important conversations. She is absolutely committed to tackling health inequalities and promoting collaborative, person-centred approaches that truly reflect community need. Next slide, please. So Naz has developed incredibly strong networks throughout those 20 years and that have supported both COAC's growth in the wider community and indeed her personally. She has worked with Core 20+5 to reduce cancer-related health inequalities in Keighley and District, and has partnered with PCN's primary care networks to deliver women's only COVID and flu jabs, as well as maternity and diabetes awareness sessions. COAC is also recognised within the Hate Crime Reporting Centre, and they offer a safe space for victims and running awareness sessions with the West Yorkshire Police on drugs and knife crime. She has worked with CSE safeguarding teams to adapt policy, contributed to the LEAPS arts-based community projects, partnered with Bradford Council on initiatives like Keighley Karmas, and continues to engage with business in the community and the West Yorkshire Mayor to raise and amplify local voice. Next slide, please. You can see that picture with Tracy, our Mayor, some with other partnerships that I've just mentioned. Next slide, please. What would Naz do? Next. Naz would be a trusted and consistent voice for the VCSE sector in Keighley, and she would use her long-standing relationships and deep community connections to represent the views and experiences of local organisations and residents. She'd work closely with VCSE partners, forums and advocates to make sure that the sector's voice is heard and has real influence in decision making. With her strong and extensive experience in evidence gathering and impact reporting, Naz would support mapping work and help clearly show the difference that the sector makes to health and well-being of our community in Keighley district. She played an active role in the integrated neighbourhood health teams, helping to set those local priorities on tackling inequalities and reaching the people who need support the most. Naz believes in collaboration over competition. She creates regular opportunities for VCSE organisations to connect through networking events, workshops and shared spaces, and to build stronger partnerships across health and care and within the community. With her past experiences, she can easily adapt action plans and meet aims accordingly. At the very heart of Naz's approach is involving people directly, and she would make sure that local communities are a part of co-designing services so that change is led by those with lived experience. Her goal is to bring services closer to community and drive meaningful, impactful and lasting change. And she would highlight the essential role of the VCSE sector in improving health outcomes. Next slide, please. Next. Naz has consistently amplified the voice of the VCSE sector. She chairs forums, she leads advocacy work, and she represents organisations in key local decision-making spaces. She is highly experienced in using data and evidence to drive change. She's led on collecting monitoring data using feedback forms, one-to-one assessments to capture outcomes and presenting this evidence to see how services are working and what needs to be done to enable those to evolve. She's also led multiple successful projects which have progressed and used action plans. She's been able to be part of developing, for example, Keighley Karmas. Strategically, she sits on multi-stakeholder boards and commissioning groups and influences planning around health and social care. Naz is also a really highly skilled facilitator and brings together diverse organisations to share knowledge, resolve challenges and foster collaboration. Her work is always rooted in community. She believes in co-production. She ensures that local voices and people are at the heart of designing and shaping the services that they use. For example, through KCAN project, she led 12 partnership organisations that reached over 500 families, and this was about using clear evidence and feedback to influence how cancer awareness and screening was delivered within this locality. With her deep community roots, strong networks and proven leadership, Naz is ready to be a powerful voice for the VCSE sector, driving collaboration, amplifying impact and helping to build a healthier, more connected community across Keighley and district. Next slide. It just simply says thank you. And I hope that I managed to do now it's to Naz in the room and or online. Or stuck. I think one of the things that, just to add on really, it feels unfair for me to ask questions given that I did the presentation, but it just feels important to share that one of the things that I was really struck by was having spent kind of 10, 15 minutes on the phone with one of her colleagues and how what didn't come across in the presentation, but what I get a real sense of is about her real passion and commitment to developing people and the impact that she has there. And that was one of the things that I know was really important for her in terms of this role itself, is about how can she develop leaders right across the sector of the future and really galvanise that momentum of people across the community, so that we're affecting change at lots of different levels. That might not just be chief execs of organisations or senior members, but people right from development workers or faith leaders, etc. How can we bring all of those people together? Well, I think she'll be delighted to know that there aren't any questions. Let's her off the hook a little bit.
Just around the challenges, what she foresees the challenges, given that she's been doing similar things, advocating, you know, for her organisation. So what does she envisage would be some of the challenges for this role, being that sector voice, not just for her organisation, but wider?
Take a note of those, Jess. So what would the specific challenges be
Of this role, in representing Keighley,
of representing Keighley and district? Right, this is a step change to the way that we are working as a system. And so what are the challenges then that we think, or the risks that we might face? Okay, well, that draws us to an end of our presentations. That's fast and furious. Voting, QR code. You can take a photograph of that, and then that will take you directly to Keighley and District locality voting form, or you can use our Microsoft form, which will do exactly the same thing. I shall move out the way so you can take photos. Our voting for Keighley District will finish at 12 o'clock next Monday. And we are going to wait until all of our localities have been completed, which will be next Thursday, Jess? Next Thursday. And we are hoping to inform successful candidates on the 19th, which I believe is next Friday.
Yeah, by the end of the day, the 19th.
Yes. Okay. Do we have another slide in that? Okay. Voting will be live for 7 days, end of the day on the 19th. And once everybody has been informed of the results, then the Alliance will publicly announce all of those sector locality leads through all of our various comms channels. I guess a couple of things to note is that our localities at different levels of maturity across our district, and as such we anticipate to have fully formed operating integrated neighbourhood health teams for all localities probably by December. There is a lot of work already happening in Keighley. As I mentioned today, we had a shadow integrated neighbourhood health meeting, and so this is one of our localities where we are active. There is a lot happening already, and so I think it's a good place for us to start off this morning because of the engagement already across this district, this locality. Something that was also mentioned earlier was about Wharfdale. Yes. At the moment, there are lots of conversations around boundaries and what these localities are. And of course, we're never going to get an exact science because we've got the local authorities wards and we're trying to overlay community partnerships and primary care networks, etc. We are working on the principle right now. We're going to deliver what is right now, which is Keighley District, Keighley East West South. However, that means it is likely that Airedale will sit within Keighley District, and it is likely that Wharfdale will sit within Craven. potentially. We're just about to go and do the Craven one, so let's keep that amongst ourselves just for now until I share that. But it is likely, although it has not been authorised or approved, but that is where the conversation is at the moment. So can you actually fix that?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I was at the King Partnership meeting last week and there was a lot of concern.
Yes.
About their voice.
Yes.
Not being lost. They're quite an active partnership, and a lot of the VCS organisations that are active in Wharfdale, not just Ilkley, but Wharfdale, you know, and not wondering where they were going to sit and that kind of thing. So yeah.
I think we mention that because we do a lot of work in Wharfdale now, and so we don't do a lot more than developing that. I think with the Silverstone, you've got like different areas and I think different connection. Yeah, maybe hotspots. I don't know. We should see what it's like. Works out. It's not quite clear cut, is it?
It's not clear cut, and I guess, you know, the opportunity that I would see is that we're a bit ahead of the curve here with recruiting at the moment. And so there's a real opportunity for Keighley and District Locality Lead to work really closely with the Craven Locality Lead. So to enable us to make sure that we've got that representation from Wharfdale and Airedale, kind of at the heart of that. Yes.
Question from Piers. He says, who authorises or decides on the boundaries?
That is a strategic decision-making forum. That is the partnership and the oversight exec. And that is, those conversations are happening. I think the challenge for us really is that we've got 58 practices. 2 of those are super practices, and one of those super practices happens to be up here, and kind of straddles both. So there is a complexity around primary care and how they organise themselves, and they are doing a similar, or they will be doing a very similar process to what we're doing now. So the primary care has a significant influence over that, but there are strategic decisions taking place, and some of that's about kind of the local authorities and that Craven Keighley divide, and some of it is about just how we are already organised, and as Candy has mentioned, about how those voices are represented. So we will let the sector know as and when that's been decided, but it will be an exec decision. Any more questions about the process, about integrated neighbourhood health in general, about the Alliance's role in that, or not? Yeah. Hooray! Okay, well, thank you for joining us. It was a good start. We are heading off to Glasgow for our second session. So thank you so much. We look forward to receiving your feedback and your votes. And again, just if we can ask you to share with your partner organisations right across the district, so that we can make sure that we have as many sector organisations having their vote within the process, and that it's one vote, one organisation. Great, thank you so much.
Thanks for joining, Piers.
See you, bye.